In this video, we're going to talk about women's football. Women's football is less popular and has fewer participants than their male counterpart. And the main reason for this is that in the past, football was considered to be a male sport, and not so much was done to develop women's football. And you go out there and you ask either any man or any woman, and that he can easily name the first 11 of most football clubs. But you ask them about women's football, maybe just to name the first 11, and that you'll be really surprised that maybe they can't even name 4 to 5 players. And the first thing that I'll just like to mention in this video is that I like to encourage women to take a part in football, either in as a form of exercise or professional, to see football as a career and that's something that they can make a living out of it. And that we need to change this perception and this idea that football is that only boys are supposed to play football, and that we really need to strongly encourage our women and our young girls to take a part in football from a young age. Usually this is a passion that people build up from a young age, and the more they progress, the more they keep on liking football, and they might take it as a career, and or seriously. And so we need more numbers. We need to urge women to take a part also in management and become football coaches, agents, scouts, and physios, and also take a part in football administration. I'm going to start with football in Africa. And the Confederation of African Football is the governing body that runs football in Africa. And that just like men's football in Africa, women's football in Africa is also lagging behind due to a number of reasons that I'm going to talk about in this video. And that's just a brief history of football in Africa. Is that from the 1970s to the 80s, this is around the time when the football administration started developing football in Africa. And in the 1990s, this is when it started to progress, and they started to see the changes and that the results of the effort that they had put in developing football. And from the 2000s to the present, this is when most national teams, uh, most women's football clubs officially joined football governing bodies such as FIFA and CAF. And before that, not so much was done on the women's football because it was considered to be a male sport. And women take a part in different competitions worldwide. And on the international scene, we're going to talk about the Olympics. The Women's Olympic was founded in 1996. The current champions are Canada, and this is their first title. And the most successful team is the United States of America women's team with a record number of 4 titles. Another international competitions in women's football is the FIFA Women's World Cup. It is usually held after every 4 years, and just 1 year after men's World Cup. There are usually 31 slots to be filled by football teams from around the world, and usually the host country usually takes the 32nd post. So the number of teams are 32, and number 32 in total. The current champions are the United States of America. They have 4 titles, and they're also the most successful team with 4 titles. Other teams to have also won the competitions are Germany. Germany has 2 titles, while Japan and Norway have 1 title. The first tournament was held in China in 1991. Then on the continental level, we have the African Women's Cup of Nations, which is usually held after every 2 years. And Nigeria is the most successful team, having won it a record number 11 times. Equatorial Guinea has also won African uh, the the African Women's Cup of Nations 2 times. And still on football in women's football in Africa, according to an online article, is that so much needs to be done to improve women's football in Africa, and that the first thing that we need to do to improve women's football is that we need to make it to be more lively. Usually, some of these national teams they usually lack of activity. They only regroup when major tournaments are around the corner, and when these tournaments are over, then they just go back to their various clubs, and not so much is done on the international level. So we need more friendly matches in order to build strong national teams. You know that for a national team to for these teams to really understand each other, these players to really understand each other, and to form a good team, they need to play with each other regularly. And this is one of the first ways that they can build a strong national team and also improve their FIFA rankings. Another way to improve the uh, women's league is that we need more regional tournaments and more domestic competitions, and that we also need women in management. We need women in management. We need women to take a part in this, take a, take these roles in management, and run women's football in their respective countries. Remember that in Africa, there are some countries that don't have women's league in this time and age, and I think that it's such a shame that in this time and age we don't have countries that have leagues in their countries, and this is one of the areas that really needs to be urgently addressed. And that I think that we can also improve the number of teams competing in the women's league. Remember that in these uh, big countries, the number of teams usually participating in are usually 20 teams participating in the main league, and that in a good example is that in the Kenya Women Premier League we only have 12 teams compared to around 18 to 20 from 18 to 20 in their male counterpart, and we need more numbers. We need more teams playing in the main league. So in the 21st century, women's football has really grown, but it's not at the same level as men's football, and that progress is there, and that and progress is there, and they might catch up, but it's not at the same level as men's football. So some of the challenges that face women's football in the 21st century is that there's less media coverage, and especially in big tournaments such as the World Cup and Euros. And just the other day, the women, the a team from, I think it was the United States women's football team, they were advocating for equal pay, just like their male counterparts. They feel like they also deserve to be paid well, just like their male counterparts, and that women in management, they feel like they are underrepresented. So today we are going to have a look at some of the ways we can improve women's football. And the first thing that I just wanted to mention was that we need to break the perception that football is a male sport only. And I like to encourage very many women. I know that football has developed differently in different parts of the world, football in Europe and football in Africa, they're not the same. They're not at the same level. You know that some of these leagues are at a more advanced stage other than other leagues. And the first thing that we need to do is that we need to encourage more women to take a part in football. And just like I have said, is that passion in football usually starts at a young age, and that we need to encourage our girls from a young age, from a time they're at homes to schools, to take a part in football as a form of exercise, or to also view it as a career, something that they can make a living out of it. And we also need to see a rise in the number of women's football academies. There are so many boys football academies, but very few women's football academies. And this is a school. An academy is just sort of a school where you go and learn so much about football and life as well. And I'd like to see a rise in the number of women's football academies. The second thing that I like to mention is that I like to urge FIFA and CAF and other football governing bodies to allocate more resources to develop football in different parts of the world. And without resources, it is impossible to run these leagues. And the reason why there are fewer the reason why there are fewer women's clubs competing in the main league is that one of the main reasons, it could be down to resources, that they don't have enough resources. And this is an area that I like to urge FIFA and all football governing bodies to really pay close attention to, because women's football is really lagging behind. The third thing that I just like to mention is that we need a proper structure to develop women's football. We need to develop football from the grassroots level, from the grassroots level to the top level. We need a good number of women's clubs participating in the different levels of football. If we were to travel around Kenya, the nation of Kenya, there are so many football clubs. There are so many boys football clubs competing from the sub counties up to the top level. And I also like the women's to emulate the same, and I like to see them participating in different levels in their respective countries, from the sub county, the lowest level, to the super leagues. All these leagues need to be developed. All these leagues need to be occupied. We need all clubs participating in these different leagues. And I also said we need to increase women's football academies in every country. We need to increase women's football academies. I have said that women football academies is a place to learn football and develop your skills and talents. And that also every country needs to have a women's league. And just like I have said, that it was a surprise to me that there are some countries in Africa that don't have a women's league. They only regroup when there's a big tournament, and after that, then they become inactive. And if you are taking these steps, then football in your country will always lag behind. And every country needs to have their own league, and that and also I'd like to urge women to take a part in management, from the football administration, coaches, referees, scouts, agents, and so on. I also like to urge the media and broadcasting. This is an area that can really help improve women's football, because we need to watch football matches as well. We need to watch women's football matches just like we watch men's football clubs. The fourth area that I like to add to improve on women's football is that I like to call on all football fans to support women's football. So many football fans know so much about men's football, but take time to know more about women's football as well. Yeah, we've always supported our boys. I think it's also it's just the right time for us as well to support our women's football. Another area that I like to the fifth area that I like to mention that can help improve football in women's football is that competitions. We need to keep these leagues. They need to be more vibrant. We need to break this lack of inactivity. There's no way that you can stay 12 months without you can stay for 12 months without playing football, then only regroup when a big tournament is around the corner, then expect to have a strong national team. We need to stop over relying on the African Women's Cup of Nations and have more friendly matches in order to improve our FIFA rankings. We need more friendly matches between different national teams, and this will help to improve to make this will make our national teams to be strong, and that it also improve our FIFA rankings. We also need more regional tournaments, such as more regional tournaments like WAF, West African Football Union, the CECAFA, Central Africa Football Association, COSAFA, Council of Southern African Football Associations, and we also need our own versions of the Women's Europa League and the Champions League. And these are just some of the ways to keep our league more vibrant. I know that international matches are usually occur after once in a while, but most football players, they spend more time in their football clubs, and that in order for us to in order for women's football to improve across the world, we need to have these different levels of football, these different levels of football to be occupied by different clubs from the grassroots level to the top level. And I also like just an emphasis. I just like to urge FIFA, CAF, and other football governing bodies to provide resources to better women's football. I know that one of the main reasons that maybe we have fewer women's football teams in the league is that they don't have the resources to run their football campaigns, and this is an area that I'd like to urge FIFA to really look upon. And before we finish, I have a question. What are some of the ways we can improve women's football? I like I like for them to add I like for you to add other ways you can improve women's football and make it to be much better. Now I like to thank everyone for watching this video. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you the next time. Thank you.